In 3, 2, 1.
The Bob and Zip Show with Nick Kelly.
We're here. All right. Good evening, everybody. It's Bob Rivers along with Zip Fell and
Medicare recipient of the year.
I see that. That's your new hook. Ed is voice chameleon. I am the radical centrist. Are you the Medicare recipient of the year because you got to see some of the bills that are being paid?
It's pretty. I'm just honestly, I'm glad I do not have to pay out of pocket for them. I mean, I have to pay for the supplemental.
So you got
plan.
A, B, C, D, E. Fuck you.
I've got the whole schmeal.
I asked for Medicare LGBTQ, but they didn't have it.
You forgot the plus, Bob. You got to fill those in right.
Plus, thank you. So, well, Zip, and we don't talk about health too much, but we're all men of a certain age, and
Men of a certain age.
Stuff just starts happening. So
before you know it, your pancreas is shut down.
And your eyes have been the thing that they've been working on this year, right? And we don't want to get too deep into it.
Well, no, I was.
Is it part of why you have a blurry camera so that we can't see you?
I can't tell the difference anyway. It looks the same. Sure. I look like I'm in the witness protection program all the time.
Is that a real nose and mustache and glasses, or is that a Groucho Marx thing?
Oh man!
If you took those off and you had no mustache, it would be really funny.
The nicest guy in the world.
Seriously, I was pleased to see that the treatment that I'm getting from this one eye doctor, I'm now seeing pharmaceutical TV ads for it. So, I feel pretty good about it. It's also $4,800 a pop.
Better like this.
Injection.
Oh, better like this. Better like this. Oh, better like this.
Exactly.
Well, and I've done this too. I've looked at some of the statements that come in.
Crazy.
The treatment I get, my immunotherapy, there's what it supposedly costs. Then there's what Medicare is willing to pay. Which is a fraction of
the gap.
And then and then I have the supplemental insurance, which is called Medigap insurance. Yeah. Do not ever take promotional phrases to sell you something literally.
Yeah.
So, for example, Medigap was to cover the gap between what Medicare pays and your out of pocket. That's good to do. Yeah. And then there's this other plan called Medicare Advantage.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one Medicare Disadvantage.
Is it really?
It is.
Is that because it takes you to the PP? What's it called? And
no, it's because it was negotiated by lobbyists with Congress. They said that Medigap wasn't offering you enough choices and wasn't good enough because somebody who was willing to pay lobbyists wanted to, let me guess, make less money? No, it's not less money.
No, the other way.
And so what Medigap does is this is the way I understand it. It has these cool features, like you could see your acupuncturist. You could get membership to a health club.
Yeah, golden silver sneakers.
You might get a hearing aid so that you could watch an episode of something or other and understand the words.
Matlock.
And then you get hit when you get hit with the big C.
Yeah. We didn't know.
And so, in other words, it's remember when they used to call and try and sell you long distance plans during dinner, and they would interrupt you and go, "Who's your long distance carrier?" Well, with Sprint, you could call your brother-in-law in Massachusetts for just 30 cents a minute.
All of the states excluded.
Yeah, right. And there was all this, all the exclusions because you do that fast voice, don't you, Ed?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember any of those?
I do remember. Not available in Ontario, not available in any of the 50 contiguous United States. And you'll have to give away your youngest born male son.
Right. And remember the FedEx guy who was the fast-talking FedEx guy?
He was from Michigan, as a matter of fact.
No kidding.
That's where I learned it from. Yeah, I took lessons from him. Fast-talking man.
Anyway, anytime there's small print, the devil is in the details. So, a lot of our audience is already on this stuff, but a lot of you may be trying to decide. I still have friends call me and go, well, I just turned 65. What do I do? And I have to tell them, buy the most expensive of everything you can.
And that you can afford.
Because you're not going to live to be 150.
And one prescription will break you.
Oh, yeah. And but I don't use that prescription, and there's a plan that does the sleep aid I use really cheaply. Yes. So remember what? Who was the famous hockey player? Was it Wayne Gretzky, the Canadian?
There's lots of them. There's Gordie Howe, Wayne Gretzky. How many do you need?
For someone who doesn't know hockey, it's Wayne Gretzky. So anyway,
Okay, fine.
what he used to say is, I believe, something like, "You don't want to go where the puck is
You want to go where the puck is going, exactly.
going to be."
And I remember that.
When you're looking at a health plan, don't look at your health.
Current health? No. Look at your heredity, you moron.
You can look. Yes, you can look at the heredity. Yes. What did you die of, Rush?
I died. Gosh, it's been so long, Bob. That let me see if it's in my records. No, only a gold microphone. Here's the record now. It said I died of verbal diarrhea.
Yes, that's.
And it went on for 10 years, decades and decades. I made millions and millions of dollars. I saved AM radio. I am the savior of AM radio. I kept so many of those guys employed. They should come and kiss my gold seat. I mean the inscribing on the back.
I'm sure you had great insurance because you wanted all pills covered. I'm
Well,
sure.
I had a friend in the White House who saw that I, got a little inside help on that front, and that was good. I went out. I had a nice exit. It was painless, like suicide.
It's really hard to ask a dead Rush Limbaugh what insurance plan he had.
I know.
So,
I should really bury the mic.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for sharing that with us, Zip. That it pays off, and you have a Medigap as well.
Just a supplemental. Yes.
Okay.
Just a quick thought. When I was in grade school, they used to offer insurance to you in my elementary school. And they had a list of the benefits that it paid. Like for a typical cut, like with sutures, it didn't cover it all. Seriously. But if you lost one eye and one arm, it paid like 50 grand. And I remember my mom. Wow, that's
Why do I feel like you're hoping?
No, but it was just that should have been an early indicator to always avoid insurance.
How this stuff is written. Okay.
Let's go play in the schoolyard. Oh, I lost an eye.
I early on when Zip and I started working together again, like when I first reconnected with Zip, which is about 8 years ago now. We had not seen each other for decades. I think Zip despised me for a while, with good cause, by the way, with cause, as they would say in human resources. And we started to hang out, and Zip asked me a question, and he said, "Well, we're old now." Because when you don't see someone for 20 or 30 years, you look at them and you go, "Well, they got old." And
you don't go to reunions.
Yeah, and I know. I'm at a high school reunion. I was like, "Is there a funeral? I must be in the wrong place." And so Zip, you probably remember this. You looked at me, and by the way, I've tried several times to have Zip not talk about getting old. There's a lot of people, veterans on TV and radio, who darken their hair, get a little nip and a tuck here and there, and try to pass for still being relevant.
And our action stars at 72. Believe me, not a picnic.
But Zip leans in and he looks at me and he goes, "How long do you think we have?" It's like,
always look on the bright side of
life. And he was like, "About a decade, maybe."
Yeah. Oh, geez.
And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds about right." And now it's 8 years later, and I'm going, let's hope for another decade. So anyway, Medicare recipient of the year. We've got some confetti. We would throw it down.
As the good Lord used to say, no man.
I do need to get one of those signs. It's been so many days since my last Medicare claim or something.
Yeah, little countdown clock in the background. I like that idea.
Okay. Anyway, we can't, and some of that is okay because most of our audience is also surprised at their reunions that everyone is so old. So I guess we'll just have to live with it. Couple of things.
Round is a bonus.
Sorry. Couple of things tonight on the topic list. It's just the three of us, no guest, but we're going to endeavor to have more guests.
Yep.
And I actually came up with a jingle and a slogan for the program. I don't know if I should unveil it tonight. Dave, our executive director, says that the audio doesn't play in StreamYard in very good quality stereo. It doesn't, does it?
To us, it may play fine on the output product.
Who cares about us?
So give it a shot.
Okay. So, we've talked about, well, a little, it's like, I do like several things. I do now this Bob, Spike, and Joe thing sometimes, and we had Spike visit us a lot. And I feel like since we started, do you remember when it was? I actually remember exactly when it was.
This
I
show.
remember our first recording of Bob and Zip with
It's
Ed
got to be
Kelly.
2 years.
More.
Is it really?
hmm Here's how I know,
You don't have
because
much
I
time
remember
left, Bob.
where I remember where I was when we recorded it prior to the pandemic. I was on vacation with the family. We were in Palm Springs, and the year was 2019, and it was Thanksgiving.
The year was 2019. Thanksgiving. Yes, Bob reunites with his old friend Zip, who has hated him for decades.
So it has been 3.5 years. Yes.
Time's
And-
fun when you're shagging flies or something like that.
I mean, it's been fun. But it's also been, it certainly hasn't made any money in spite of the wonderful Patreons who contribute $8 a
And we
month.
love you all.
Absolutely.
And in the meantime, podcasting has grown by leaps and bounds. I don't know if you guys even consume podcasts.
Oh yeah, I listened to your triumvirate this week, going at
What-
each other.
Oh, you do?
All
Yeah, but,
in, yeah.
yeah, but do you do you listen to the All In?
I listened to one this week because I'm trying to wean myself from TV, but still remain somewhat, informed. And they were just off the hook crazy, going at each other. I mean, these guys get into it.
Zip, do you listen to a podcast?
Usually Dateline.
Podcast?
That's
So you
a
don't
res-
listen to any
I
podcasts?
do. I do occasionally.
Do you
know?
TikTok, my good man?
I don't. But I do have reels.
By the way,
pop up.
you have that in common with almost every Medicaid recipient of the year. By the way, that they don't TikTok.
There's that. Reels.
right. So here's and again, we started off with how old we are. Thank you, Zip. But
Yeah.
I
Good.
know, it's bad.
here's what's going on. There is a huge sea change in media, and there's always a sea change in media in that the more things change, the more they say the same, and the only constant is change. So, for example, years ago, let's say 50 years ago, a chairman of the chairman of the FCC, someone was famous for calling TV a vast wasteland. Do you remember that quote?
I don't remember the quote, but I know he can find me $1 million.
You remember that chairman of the FCC? Well, that chairman of the FCC just died, and today,
Hip hip. All right. No, I'm kidding.
Stern is probably celebrating.
Yeah.
Today, you wouldn't say TV is a vast wasteland. In fact, of all entertainment markets, the television, the shows, the streaming series, So here's the thing: television is not
Television anymore.
broadcast towers
It's not
giving you the
terrestrial.
evening news. Television is pictures on a screen, right?
We're on television.
And by the way, we're on television right now.
Mm.
We're in the equivalent of the incredible renaissance of music that was created during the classic rock era. We are now creating classic television. When they create a series like The Crown, does that go bad? Like
No.
eggs in the refrigerator for 2 months? No.
Got a great shelf life.
That now that we're at high definition,
Mhm.
this is content that will last decades and perhaps even millennia. And by the way, will the Beatles last millennia? Yeah. It'll be a curiosity.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
it'll
don't, however, hear one day.
Come here, Bob. I need you.
Exactly. So we actually reached a quality level in rock and roll with 24-track recordings.
Yeah.
And the bands that were filtered through radio stations, music directors, record companies, curation to find the absolute best performers, nurture the acts like Billy Joel, who may have signed like a 6 or 7 album deal with Columbia, to develop him as an artist because he was discovered to be one of the great musical talents. Well, now that isn't the way music is. Pop music it's actually a vast wasteland.
Yeah, the model collapsed. You're right.
But why did it collapse?
Greed.
No, greed is good. I'm sorry.
Greed is good. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
greed
forgot.
is good. I'm a capitalist.
I know.
So you can't use those liberal tropes at me. It's greed. If only people would be nicer. No, people won't be nicer. There's various kinds of people, and some of them are bankers. Get used to it. No, so it wasn't greed. What else?
Consultants killed him. A lot of it.
They're part of greed. So no, they're not eligible. It's not greed.
No, it was technology. Let's be honest.
Actually, it might be tiny bit greed. Now that I'm trying to ready, fire, aim.
Yeah.
So what happened is, as the business matured, and everybody played what was safe, it was still a good business until suddenly distribution burst wide open. The internet now essentially has created such a low barrier to entry. If you want to make a song, anybody can make a song. There's tools now that you know, and with artificial intelligence, you can ask a computer to make a song in your name, and it's a song.
Can you make me a Pepsi jingle in the style of Barry Manilow? And it would do it.
Can you do that? Can you do that right now?
No, I don't.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
if I try and get into,
yeah,
I only have the.
And by the
speech
way,
chat.
I will never let an AI sidekick on this show.
Yeah,
No way. That person will take over. That's the theme, by the way, of the most recent Star Trek series, the Picard series, is that artificial intelligence descended from data needs to be wiped out because they're smarter than people. And we're entering that right now. We're entering a place where within a matter of just a couple of years, not like global warming, which we can pretend doesn't exist because it's only going to kill our kids. But things are changing so fast that that model no longer works. So music, in spite of there being more music than ever, no one can find the hits because music is these little groups of people who share stuff.
Geordie LaForge, this is why I want you to kill data. He's killing music. AI is taking over the entire universe.
And I've said this before, but the radio DJ used to play a really important role in selling the music, and the music directors in each city would be presented the best candidates each week to be added, and they would test them out and they would see which songs got responses, and then they would build a playlist and build hit music. Nowadays, everyone thinks they can do it with AI, artificial intelligence. Spotify's got algorithms. Apple's got algorithms.
And it sucks.
Well, it does.
Yeah, it's terrible.
But I have this theory about why it sucks.
Why is that?
I think it's scientific to a level and smart to a level, and it can measure your behavior.
Yeah.
But there was always a thing about research that was the downside. Like research, they always do research and say, this is what works, this is what popular with your audience. What they would forget to mention is that's what worked last week when we did the research.
And it's ever evolving.
So skeptics of research would say that research was seeing what just happened. And
like looking in the rearview mirror.
In the rearview mirror of your car, right. In other words, Zip would almost do this now. He's so Magoo. But
oh, Magoo, you've done it again.
If you got in your car and looked in the rearview mirror when you're backing up, that would work really good if you could time travel backwards. But when you start to go forward, if you wanted to predict where the road is going by the road you just drove on, it would not be very long before you would crash. And that's the flaw with AI. So why did it work so well before? Well, it worked well before because there were actual human beings with guts and emotions.
Auditorium tests, as I recall.
They would do focus groups. They would do small groups, but the decision was not made by a machine. It was not made by
batches are made in small portions. That's where we get the depth of flavor.
But did they not over the years, especially with classic rock and the rock formats, they had a habit of testing the same songs.
400 songs. That's how many.
Okay, now you're talking about near the tail end of radio.
Okay.
This is near the tail end. And what ends up happening, and it's partially greed, which is why I gave into you on the greed thing. What happens is radio stations, as they faced more competition, they just wanted to play the hits. They wanted to play the sure thing that would get the most amount of people with the least amount of risk. And yeah. But when a music director in 1990 heard Smells Like Teen Spirit and discovered a kind of music that had never existed before, coincidentally from Seattle, I was there.
There was the hotspot.
That there was a, let's try it.
Yeah.
And when they tried it and people loved it, it created a whole, there's lots more bands like this. And then other bands who weren't even from Seattle, the
Started
Stone
dressing
Gossard
down.
Pirates. Remember the Stone Gossard Pirates? Oh, actually, Stone Temple Pilots. Excuse me.
Stone Gossard. It's STP.
Well,
and one disc jockey in Detroit used to say stuntable pilots. He said it so
Yes.
fast. Stuntable. I'm thinking
Stuntable.
Yeah.
Anyway, all of this. So music was this, in a way, there was a herd mentality of people being influenced, just the way the Beatles and the Stones influenced each other. And people had something to shoot at because there was curation. If you go into a museum and all it has is
the same.
well, basically, let me tell you what the cheapest museum in the world.
It's Windsor, Vermont.
No, that's a real museum.
Yeah.
This was a setup for a joke.
Oh, sorry. Not bad.
That's okay. It'll still work.
Okay.
Cheapest museum in the world is a storage unit place.
Yeah.
Every storage unit is a museum. However, it is uncurated.
Yes, it is. And seriously, a good art collection has to revolve. Or people
Yes, it
get
has to.
bored.
It has to. But someone, again, going back to some human being who's got taste and has a gut understanding of what's going to work with lots of people has to discover it.
And it's a gift.
Yeah. And so now in TV, you have Netflix, you have Apple TV, you have these entities with billions of dollars to spend.
And a writer's strike.
Well, a writer's strike is on right now, but they're making programming that will last millennia.
Yeah.
And that's what classic rock was. And so I was leading this back around to podcasting. In podcasting now, there are so many shows. There are some excellent shows on just about any topic you can imagine.
Yep.
I've championed the All In podcast because my son, who's 40 years old, turned me on to it. And it's basically 4 billionaires sitting around talking about the world and history and what we're in right now. And by the way, there's the thing I don't like about them is they worship money. They're all about money.
Yeah.
But that's what I would expect billionaires to be like.
Yeah.
And since I don't personally know any billionaires and I can't go to Thanksgiving and hang out with them, this podcast is like that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. We can't hang with the big boys.
It's like hanging and having dinner with billionaires. And, just a glass of wine they would order would be a car.
Yeah.
I mean, a sweater that Chamath Palihapitiya has is,
Virgin yak.
Virgin yak imported from Mars. Yeah.
On one of Elon's excursions.
And these guys would never fly commercial. They fly on jets.
All their own. They
Private jets.
Yeah.
And they meet in France for a poker game.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. Another podcast is Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend.
Great podcast.
Awesome podcast.
Yeah.
And his friends are like, he doesn't really need friends. It's sort of a wry.
But it's a great approach.
But it's a great approach because he's basically saying that when we sit down and talk with these people, we're going to have a real hour-and-a-half discussion with David Letterman, which would not have fit on the late night TV.
Oh, and that's refreshing for me.
It is. So, Zip, you should try a podcast aside from the one that you're sitting here in now.
Have you seen Bill Maher's podcast?
No, I've heard about it though. There's another guy that goes.
He's doing separate from the TV.
Yeah.
Yes.
What
What
is
does he
it?
call it? The Lounge or something? Bill Maher's Lounge or something. But he was on with Dana Carvey. I'm a huge fan of Dana Carvey, and it was very funny.
Clip from that.
So I did watch that. This week. I'm not even sure how I caught on to it, but I did.
Accidentally ensnared you. That's the way all new media has to find you.
Yeah. They probably found out that you were a fan somewhere, and it went into the metrics, and that's how you found it.
It actually might have been through Dana Carvey. Looking for a Dana Carvey clips.
Personal friend.
So,
I learned to do my bush.
we are currently at the end of a broadcast radio as we knew it. I mean, there's still always going to be radio. There's going to be something pumped through there, and it is what it is. Just like there's still going to be TV on the TV networks, mostly reality shows that are inexpensive to produce, not great dramas, nothing like that. But here's what's amazing. We are in the golden age now, an emerging golden age of audio entertainment. Too bad we're the Golden Girls. We're the male version of the Golden Girls.
And you're Rue McClanahan.
I thought I was B. Arthur.
Oh, okay. No. He's more B. Arthur. She
Who's
was
B.
a
Arthur?
massive woman.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just
He's not
personality-wise.
Yeah.
Personality-wise, she was the biggest asshole of the three.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think
The gorilla.
I think I have to carry that crown. But anyway,
Probably.
Woe is you.
with Zip, it's impossible not to make old jokes. By the way,
Yeah.
just hand it.
What are you doing here, huh?
But here we are. It's a golden age emerging of audio entertainment, and most of the audio entertainment has a feature that audio entertainment used to not have. Video.
About that. Yeah.
And so, because even if I'm in the car listening to the All In, there is a video of them as well that's on
the
YouTube.
dash? No
Yeah.
kidding. That's not a distraction at all.
Well, it's not safe at all, but there's video option. I mean, because it doesn't cost that much more to add video. It's tricky, as you can see by our blurry images and our lighting issues.
Yeah.
We don't have money to spend.
This
on
is
it.
going to be charming 10 years from now.
Which could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Like looking at an old playoff game of the NFL or NBA where they're
No
all
ads
blurry.
on the boards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Zip's got a vintage camera.
Yes.
You're using like Fred Flintstone's webcam from the
It's
computer he
actually
used to have with a
webcam that
pterodactyl
you
by the
gave
side
me,
that would
Bob.
make a boot up noise.
Oh.
It was a gift when I signed up for AOL 28.
Got it.
Whatever
Okay.
is.
Anyway, so as far as our podcast goes, I was thinking if we had a hook, we could make it bigger. Because right now it's just three old guys who used to be on the radio.
Listen, size queen. How are we going to make it bigger?
How are we going to make it bigger?
Yeah.
Oh, well, first off, you need a hook, you need
A
branding,
brand. We need a brand.
and you need
That's what it is.
consistency.
Yes.
And then you have to do something after it's good.
Mhm.
You have to promote.
Mm. You know,
Those
Facebook
are the faces of people who expect me to do everything.
No.
And I totally
You
get
know,
it because you're not getting
Facebook,
paid.
If you're willing to teach me social
right.
marketing about all of that, I'm willing to put in the groundwork.
Look, I'm Ready, Fire, Aim guy. So as I mentioned, since November of 2019, 3.5 years, we've just been getting together and having a conversation. And our audience ranges when you add up the two YouTube channels, the 3 Facebook channels, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and all the different places it's heard.
You forgot Twitter.
We don't do Twitter.
Not yet, but you
because
can.
it's short form, but I'll get to that.
No, it's getting long form now.
Yeah, everybody's getting everything, by the way.
Yeah.
Hey, we're a hair salon and a TV network.
Whatever you got looks like a tower.
You know, when you think about it, Apple was a computer company,
Yeah.
not a television network. And now Apple TV is the elite high-end television network. Many of its shows are better than anything on any other network.
Mhm.
But you got to be in the Apple ecosystem and pay to see it. I ran into someone the other day who never heard of Ted Lasso, didn't know that there was a show called Ted Lasso. Not just didn't know it, but didn't know they were missing out. Sort of like back in the day when Spike said to me, "Oh, The Sopranos last night. You should see what they did to that stripper in the back alley."
I knew I liked that guy for a reason.
And I was like, "What are you watching strippers get murdered in a back alley?" He goes, No. He's like, "It's really good."
Not just any stripper.
And I was like,
one-legged stripper.
I was like, I'm not. Was it? I can't remember. I'm not paying for HBO. Remember, because back then, I was already the morning show host, but I was like, you're not getting another $12 out of me every month. Well, those people exist today, watching network television, watching reality shows. Some of them are going to podcasts because we're free for now.
I brought a television over to Lizzie's home last night. She said, "I don't watch TV. Take it back."
Oh. You tried to give her a TV. And
Yes.
Lizzie is, refresh my memory, she's in her 30s?
Mid-20s.
What's her entertainment?
You dog, you.
choice?
She's such a dog. Mid-20s. Look at that.
It's largely TikTok and a lot of YouTube.
Yeah.
You can find anything you need to know on YouTube.
Andrew doesn't watch television either.
Limited to one. Yeah, I don't.
He watches screens, which are television.
Yes.
And so, and here's the dirty secret: the stuff that the shows that come out every night, the night shows, they're all cut up and put on the net for free.
And they're not even. They don't care about the live audience who's tuning in. They care about the clips that will hit social media the next day.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they also care about the writer's strike, by the way, because now they're suddenly mute.
We got to spend some time on that. I know, because you're in the union, aren't you?
No, we did support. I am in the Screen Actors Guild. I'm not in the writers. I'm not.
But you understand a
little bit about the inner workings.
Let's segue to that in a couple minutes. So anyway, to conclude this, I've often felt that a podcast should have a catchphrase, it should have a hook, and it should be like any television show. It should have a theme song. And we've talked about this before, and I don't know if I've gotten any buy-in from either of you guys. But I always feel like our show should be different from every other show in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Are we?
I think we should each have, scantily clad ladies in the background.
By the way, you're driving using the rear view mirror toward Howard Stern's career.
Okay.
Right? That's Howard Stern. I mean, back then he had a vision. He was like, nobody else has scantily clad women in the studio performing sex acts.
Or does lesbian.
And if I do, or lesbians, and if I do that and the FCC comes after me, that'll buy me a national and global advertising campaign that I couldn't afford, and they'll give it to me for free. I mean, how brilliant was he?
Oh, there's no word.
Yeah, just totally. And I remember listening going, well, we could do nude stock. I could do stuff like that, but I'm not as angry as that guy. And we did some things. So anyway, there's a thing about the way we talk or way we try to talk that I think is very interesting. And also I like it when we have a guest on who's really smart.
Yep.
Because to be really honest, I'm only speaking for myself.
Not you, in my
not
humble
Zip or Ed.
opinion, yes.
I'm a regular guy. I am not book educated in the sense that degrees piled higher and deeper and things like that. But I feel like over the years, for decades, I was able to take really smart people and transpose them down to auto parts store employee language or barista. Yes. And by the way, if it sounds like I'm being elitist, no, I always thought that I don't have that much intelligence. I don't know a lot, but I have good feelings and good empathy and the ability to, like, the whole point I always thought of having an audience was to give them some way of thinking about it that they hadn't already heard 18 times. So to me, like when I did my first book report, I don't know if any of you did this, but we had an encyclopedia, and I copied the sentences out of it and tried to change a few words.
Yeah.
To me, that's what all political talk is.
Well, that's true. Talking points. Yeah.
It's just talking points, and you pick one side or the other, and then you're on that side, and it's all phony, like World Federation Wrestling, now the WWE, in that the storylines and the scripts they're already baked in. It's fake.
Rupert Murdoch is going,
And that's when you'll say this.
Yes,
And it has to be repeated over and over so that it
In order to
becomes your
print.
brand. Fake news, lock her up, blah, blah,
and
blah.
by the way, that's the same philosophy that made classic rock hits repetition. So not only did you have music directors and program directors and consultants and record companies and A&R guys discovering the best music, they had to come to a consensus to go, yeah, you know what? That Bob Seger's pretty darn good. He's like the best at what he does. So he becomes a big artist, and Led Zeppelin becomes a big artist, and the Rolling Stones become a big artist. And then they have these careers. Whereas now, if a pop star breaks through on an algorithm, Gangnam Style or whatever that one was. Gangnam Style, whatever.
Yes.
It's not even a real fucking word. So, but if they break through,
yes.
it breaks through, but there's no career. You never hear from them again.
Holy Macarena, Batman.
We don't have artists now. We have people trying to game algorithms.
Yeah.
Or even just putting stuff out there in the algorithm. And the algorithm, by the way, doesn't go, what was that Gangnam guy's name?
William.
Can't even remember.
No.
Who wrote the Macarena?
They were a big Latin act.
Okay.
Yeah. Before they came out.
So that's the difference between a hula hoop.
Yeah.
And a thing that's not a hula hoop.
Yeah. Now we got Taylor Swift.
This part of me that's not smart, by the way. See, that's it. Just letting you know. And a thing that's not a hula hoop. That lasts long. Oh, I know the thing I was thinking of. Mount Rushmore. A hula hoop and Mount Rushmore. Maybe. Anyway, so I came up with I've been toying with this slogan for a long time. And Ben and I.
Group.
What's that?
No
focus
focus
group. I've talked to a few people about it. We've talked about this phrase before. And I decided to incorporate it into the Bob and Zip Show jingle and use it for promotion, because if we start to do some spicier shows with smart people.
I'm not a smart man.
Now, Gomer, I wasn't referring to you.
Was a Gomer.
But I was giving you a Gomer cue.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it.
Yeah,
I whipped on the ball, Bob. I'm so sorry.
No problem. But anyway, that we could then take brilliant short clips and put them on the 60 minutes sound effect. Do you know what that is, Zip?
The 60 minutes? Yes.
The 60 minutes sound effect is what?
Ticking clock, yes.
Come on, say it.
Ticking what? What?
No, tick-tock.
Oh, TikTok. Come on. See, that's how out of touch I am.
Oh, man. Really?
And the way I look at this is
Really?
we're helping those of you like us who are at the senior center playing
Which bicycle
checkers.
horn do I honk now? Wait a herring.
To make some really interesting content and get it out there to people. Because one thing I have to say about our audience, it can range between 2,000 and 4,000 people per episode, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
But we're not making any money, and it doesn't grow because it's essentially doesn't have that fish hook, doesn't have that. We're not promoting. It's nothing. It's out there, and so.
Different.
So it starts with just like the Partridge Family.
Yes.
It starts with a catchy theme song. TV shows, but the more things change, the more they stay the same. This will work, and I love jingles personally. And then the theme song has a hook and a catchphrase, and then we'd have to live up to it. So you guys know what it is because I sent it to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you listen to it?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
No. What'd you think?
Pleasantly surprised.
Yes. Musical in nature. Good dance beat.
Yeah.
Bob's been sending words to Vancouver again.
Yeah. Well, So here's the jingle. Let's see if I can play it. And it's just going to be the jingle. We'll dance along with it. You ready?
Okay.
Here we go.
They say that a lie can go halfway around the world before
The truth gets his pants on.
the Bob and Zip Show with Ed Kelly.
The truth gets his pants on.
The Bob and Zip Show with Ed Kelly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cold ending too. We love that.
Yeah, it's better than the first. The first one was "Come on, get happy." That was what I was going to do. So
Shirley Jones bus outside.
it sort of reminds me.
Ours was short.
Yeah. A little of the Partridge Family. But anyway, and you know that expression. We all know that expression. A lie gets halfway around the world before the truth gets its pants on, which is especially true about now.
Never more
And-
true.
Oh, never more true. As far as I mean, it's always been true to a certain extent because a lie is dramatic, more dramatic than the truth. The truth usually requires a longer explanation. People don't have time. And a lie is fun to tell people because it gets them excited. And so,
want to hear, yeah.
yeah. So anyway, I wrote down a couple of lies.
Yeah, I wrote some too. I had dinner with Morgan Fairchild.
Yeah, I actually did. Not
I'm
dinner,
talking
drink.
about widely believed lies.
Yes.
Not that, Morgan didn't eventually have. That was Lovett, right? What was his name?
Lovitz, yeah.
Yeah, John Lovitz,
John
the
Lovitz.
comedian. Yeah.
Hilarious guy. Live.
Oh, and he got to bang Morgan Fairchild eventually.
Oh, I
right?
don't know that. No.
Actually, I don't either. But
If I
that
did,
will
I
be-
wouldn't tell.
that will be halfway around the world before he has a chance to deny it.
That's right.
So the hard part about being an old white guy, whether you're a voice chameleon, a radical centrist, or the Medicare recipient of the year, and I've been lamenting this, is that it seems that all we talk about is politics.
There's 1,000 guys doing that.
Well, there's that, which of course you're right that it's sort of annoying that why do something everyone else is doing, and some of them are smart and have degrees and education and know how to outmaneuver you because they do it 5 days a week.
They're very deaf.
For 3 or 5 hours a day. Like I wouldn't debate Tucker Carlson. I'd go, I don't like you. And I'm not sure why. I know you're lying.
Here's the thing. You might actually like him
As a
off
person.
camera. Yeah.
That's very true. I like so many conservative friends of mine.
Yeah. I have more conservative friends than I do liberals.
But here's the thing. I actually think my liberal friends get lied to just as much.
I couldn't agree more.
And I think that they the lies they tell themselves are even trickier because conservative values lends itself to batting other people down, saying you have to work for it. I'm already white and privileged.
Yes.
Yeah. No, you have plenty of opportunity. I'm not a racist. It's just stop coming across my border and helping our economy. And and by the way, we need more immigrants now. There was a study recently that determined that because we've shut down immigration for 5 or 6 years, it's part of the problem.
Now you can't get a worker.
I know. And we don't need illegals. We need to, legal immigration has been cut way back because that was part of Trump's brand, which is my dick gets its dick off. I don't know what it is. It's not the truth gets its pants off.
You can walk up to those immigrants and grab them by the...
By the way, one of the things I love about this jingle is we can do a ton of rewrites.
Yeah.
And we could do a jingle for someone else. Or
very
we could
versatile.
do all those mix outs and everything. So here's the liberal one. Like the Republican ones are kind of easy because you're a bunch of liberals and I'm a centrist.
That's not true.
Are you not a liberal?
I consider myself a borderline centrist.
Leaning to the left.
I list.
Slight curvature that Bill Clinton had.
List. Yeah.
It's a little like Peroni's.
Yeah. You do list left.
I do list. I list a lot of things. I list the things I'd like to do before I go. It's
all comes back to a dick joke.
I consider myself pretty
That's
much
a podcast.
Yeah. I shouldn't have stepped on it. I consider myself similar to you, but leaning more right. And not because I lean right, but because it's needed. To me, the stupidest people in the world are liberals who have absolutely zero empathy for the 40% of people who don't think the way they do, because it's useless. You cannot accomplish anything.
It's also biting the hand that feeds you in a way, isn't it?
Say more.
Well, it's like people are all up in arms about people who are successful, have money and corporations. Well, guess what? They also provided your parents with the jobs that put a roof over your head.
And formerly pensions. Let's not bring that up. Yes. In fact, the analogy I use to what you're saying is that if the United States was a bald eagle, which wing do you think it should fly with, the right wing or the left wing?
No. And maybe that's why Joe got where he is, because he was a guy that sort of tried to hopscotch.
He did,
more than the others.
And by the way, the line about him lying is that he lies because we can find a quote for him being on either side of centrism over the last 50 years. Yeah, because he's a chameleon, and you recognize a chameleon when you see one.
I do.
He's a deal maker, and deal makers, have to shift position.
Compromise.
Yeah. Well, you could call it compromise if you want.
Horse trading is more accurate.
By the way, just before they execute a spy, they say he was compromised.
Nice.
That's a word that can have several meanings.
Where the hell is the bell when you need it?
Doesn't Russia do that? They call it compromat or whatever.
Compromat. Yep.
When they basically try to make someone look bad and catch them in a lie. Yeah. So that's what compromise is. It's a form of, and by the way, it's natural for us to lie. We are not capable of speaking the truth because we are not smart enough. We are capable of instinctively wanting to convince you of something. We can try hard to make it as truthful as possible, but the limits of language and our instincts to act in our own self-interests make it impossible for us to be completely truthful or to not be prejudiced.
Self-preservation.
It kicks in.
Yeah. It's recognizing that you're
I felt like I was putting some pants on while I was saying that. Okay. So does everybody agree with it? You like the jingle? Is I guess
I love the jingle.
Okay.
Yeah, I just lied. Oh, I'm so sorry. No.
Yeah. At the moment, by the way, when someone says something, it means at the moment that's the best they could do.
Right. That's what they told me all through school.
My sponsor, my 12-step sponsor, used to say to me, "What's the point of having a mind if you can't change it?"
That's that is true, and the ability to shift. It's the turgidly set feet that I think sometimes cause the most problems.
So we're gonna. I don't know exactly how we're gonna do it, but we'll create a video for The Truth Gets Its Pants On. And I might get some animation people to try and put pants on a,
stick figure.
Cartoon Bob Spike or Bob Zip and Ed cartoon figures. And we'll figure it out. But I'm going to actually do something I was scared of doing until we had John Medina on a couple weeks ago.
Man,
I have a Rolodex of super smart people.
Mm-hmm.
I have not tapped them for the podcast.
You haven't picked their brains.
No, and you know why?
No.
Because I'm a fraud. And I'm insecure. And in the old days, they would book with our booking person.
Because they
Our
had
booking person would pre-interview them, and I would get a bio, and I would write questions the day before, and they had to drive to the station, or unless they were, on the phone, but they had to get through, and someone had to put them on hold in the green room, and there was this whole production. There was like 8 people running the show. And so when they finally got into the chair, I had this credibility.
Because you were surrounded.
None of which I deserved, by the way, because I was just like, I hope I don't blow it.
No,
So-
you did well in your role, though. And
Well,
they aided and abetted you. Yeah.
Well, and I had really wonderful conversations with some very brilliant people.
Yeah. Lewis
And-
Black was great, by the way.
Yeah. And so anyway, I thought if we make the show slogan "The Truth Gets His Pants On," and we go to some really smart people and can you teach us about what you know about whatever it is, and if they're promoting a book or Gullible or in my Rolodex and don't mind, we could have some really interesting discussions, because the three of us talking about Trump losing that lawsuit today,
It's been covered.
it just wouldn't be unique content.
I covered it on a broadcast earlier today.
All right, what did they say on the right wing show that you're on?
Well, they just said that it was hard to believe that the verdict was the verdict, but the verdict was the verdict. But then you had, my Catholic friend to my left who said, well, it's hard to believe that they couldn't. He was not guilty, so they didn't prove it. The jurors didn't believe it. I said, well, yeah, you're right. It was an OJ trial, kind of thing. But
So,
I
all
don't
right, now let's assume we're putting truth's pants on here. What does all that mean? Everybody knows
Yeah.
that Trump is a misogynist towards women.
Mhm.
I mean,
It doesn't mean he raped her.
he believes they let you do it.
Yeah.
Literally. I'm not even going to do the second half of that quote. They let you don't even have to ask. They let you do it because you're a star.
Was he being truthful, or was he posturing for Billy on the bus?
It would take time to put our pants on. It would be really fast to just say, I believe. This is the thing. You're supposed to say, I believe this or I believe that. Based on the preponderance of the evidence you've seen, I would say that most people believe it happened. What they're arguing on that show is whether it's been proven in court and whether it was worth the court's time and whether it's politics. And one of the things that always drives me nuts is when a politician gets on and accuses another politician of playing politics.
Yeah.
It'd be like me growing a mustache and accusing Zip of having a mustache. It's a fucking stupid. That'd be like me accusing the conductor of the Boston Symphony Orchestra of conducting. Truth gets his pants on. So anyway, illustrating the concept. But so Trump was found guilty by a. And by the way, will it be overturned? I expect. Likely. You know why?
Why?
Could Trump get a fair trial in New York?
Likely not.
Could Putin get a fair trial in New York?
Likely not.
Yeah.
Where are they go? Idaho?
I mean, it's going to be a reasonable argument. And by the way, eventually, it won't be overturned. Eventually, it'll settle just like the Fox thing did. All right. So, but I promised to attack liberals fairly too. And I don't mean attack.
No.
See, that was the
Just
truth when I
expose
said it, but I've modified it now. It's not really attack. The thing that blows my mind about liberals and conservatives is they claim to have values, but the values only apply to the other side. So, for example, if I state a value and ask you which party, you should be able to answer a simple quiz. So, pro-corporate, which party?
Republican.
All right. Pro-worker, which party?
Liberals.
Okay. Although they've lost the branding now.
They have.
Yeah.
Then,
pro-war, which party?
Well, that kind of goes back
Over your lifetime. Not today.
Republican.
Republicans are hawks. Yeah.
Anti-war, which party?
Well, it depends on who contributes to the campaigns. The Democrats.
All right.
Yeah.
So you see, like we were raised with these fundamental lanes.
Yeah.
And Republicans weren't pro-war. They were anti-communism taking over our country and destroying our democracy. But if
patriotic pro-war.
Yeah. But if you say pro-democracy now, if you say patriot, which party would you associate that word with? Come on.
The Republicans.
Okay. Reluctantly. And if you say bleeding heart, well, that's a liberal.
Well,
right?
established catchphrase, yeah.
Yeah, but if you say pro-democracy, which party would you associate that with?
I would excluding the last administration, I would say both.
It's a
Leaning
harder
left
one.
on mine.
Because democracy, what does democracy mean? We're actually not a democracy,
Freedom of
or a
choice.
representative
No.
republic or something like that.
Yeah.
Democracy is this concept to make you feel good, like mother's milk. I don't know where that came from.
Wow.
You better get a filter on those fetishes, mister.
It's supposed
Before
to
we roll this puppy out.
It's supposed to be unquestionably good, which
Yes.
is why I went with mother's milk,
Wow.
even though I
How
never
about
had any.
with
I
a
was
name like
raised
Smuckers?
I was
It has
raised
to
by a
be
cow in Carnation, Washington. It was Carnation Instant Farms. When I moved to Seattle, I felt like a salmon swimming upstream to Carnation, and I wanted to meet the cow that nursed me. So here we have a war. We've now learned how to fight proxy wars.
Yeah.
And here we have a war in Ukraine. And the lie we were told when it started was that it was Gandalf. This shall not stand, right? And you could do it better than me.
This
Remember?
shall not stand.
Yeah. And we were told in this lively press conference that we were going to inflict so much economic pain on Russia that this would be over quickly. And it became this TV drama like, did they take Kyiv last night? And then all when this first started happening, there were these people with degrees and education and experience who said, this looks like another morass that may go on for years. And it was like, no, I watch TV. Biden's got it. He's got to cut them off at the balls. They're not going to get any money, and then Russia's going to give up.
And Germans going to join us.
And the Germans will join us. And meanwhile, I was like, but what about China? It's a whole huge world right now. Oh, China's our new enemy. Why? Everything in my house came from China. Why are they our enemy? This is all part of the truth getting his pants on. And meanwhile, all the sheepy liberals, and I know I'm going to hear from a few sheepy liberal friends of mine.
Oh, yeah.
Put up Ukrainian flags in their window like, yeah, at least back in World War II, we sent our women to work in the factories to help with the war effort. You hanging a Ukrainian flag in your window isn't doing shit.
Obviously, the riveter was here.
Exactly. So, and each time we're told something by somebody we support, we want to believe it.
Yeah.
We want to believe. And then when it doesn't happen, we sort of forget.
Or Dan Rather shows up and or Cronkite and shows what's actually going on, as opposed to what we've been fed.
Give me an example of that.
Vietnam War.
Oh, yeah. This is, and Ukraine is the same, except that we're not sending our soldiers. We're simply feeding our military industrial complex,
Right.
which is a lot like Seymour.
And where did the billions go from the Treasury? By the
You
way,
get that "Feed Me Seymour" reference?
Feed me, Seymour.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry. Just
in the old days, I would have had a producer who would have prepared you for that ahead of time. And it would have actually worked.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. So anyway, what do you think of all that?
What do I think of all of what? The true? You mean the new jingle, the new concept?
Well,
I guess?
the whole idea that we shouldn't
buy in so easily. We should do our homework.
Let's put it this way. Humanity is about to be attacked by its own inventions with artificial intelligence. It was bad enough with military intelligence, which was designed to propagandize us.
Yeah.
But I just think we need more critical thinking. I think we need to actually make critical thinking more important than reading, writing, and arithmetic.
And accountability, maybe.
Yeah. Smarter people. Of course, George Carlin would have told us that that's not what they want, because they want complacent workers.
And the best candidates don't want to get anywhere near that field of politics, because they can accomplish more in the private sector. They're not hamstrung the same way.
It's true. It's true. And I like, by the way, I like all of the candidates who piss off their own party, starting with Manchin. And I know he only does it because he's in West Virginia, and West Virginia is a Republican state, and it's the only way he can keep his job.
Yeah.
But I still like a year and a half, 2 years ago, when they were trying to, write a massive multi-billion dollars more of printing money and spending, and he was like, "This is going to exacerbate inflation," and he stopped it, most of it. And that's truth getting its pants on, even if it gets its pants on just because those pants happen to work in that particular situation for one person.
Right.
But and Republicans, I mean, under Trump, I've read that they printed $8 billion, but it's still Biden who caused the inflation. That's pants off right there. That's pants off. That's pants on fire.
Liar.
Yeah, because bullshit is a team sport. In this country.
That's a bumper sticker. I think we should put that out.
Let me
I'm
play.
sorry,
Let me play the
Detroit
jingle
Grand Prix.
one more time. Let's listen quietly.
They say that a lie can go halfway around the world before.
The truth gets his pants on.
The Bob and Zip Show with Ed Kelly.
The truth gets his pants on.
The Bob and Zip Show with Ed Kelly.
All right.
No.
I got to put that to video because us dancing to that is not going to look good for very long. Yes.
Follow it up with Spandau Ballet. I know this much is true.
All right. A couple quick topics to close us out. I'm going to recommend two TV shows. Just a couple quick words about the coronation and British, the royal family, British royalty, the monarchy.
Monarchy?
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot going on. There's always a drama with the monarchy. And it's always interesting to us in the U.S., even though when you think about it, we had a revolution, quit the monarchy,
To break away, yes.
overthrew British rule, and have
Concurred.
been the most successful country in the world ever since. So invariably, when there's a big monarchy event, the Queen passing away, new king being coronated, there are editorials to read about whether Britain should abolish the monarchy. Zip, Medicare recipient of the year. What say you?
Oh, it's part of tradition, Bob. It's the pomp and circumstance.
Honest answer to all 100% truth. Zip always has his pants on, even though looking at that dingy basement with all those screens, you might think something else.
You mean the naughty pine look?
Do you watch porn on 4 screens at once? How do you have
Yes, it's called Naughty Pine, Naughty.
Sure. Anyway, so back to your point.
All right.
It's totally tradition. Does it serve any other purpose?
No, people live vicariously through it. That's
Okay.
the whole deal.
You silly
know?
man.
And
Bob,
it's-
Kelly.
Don't you
And Kelly, Canadian and subject of the monarchy,
correct?
technically, right?
Well, we have declared independence. It took us 100 years longer than the Yanks, but didn't shed a single drop of blood, Bob. So,
Yeah, so
who's the
tell me
smarter
what
country?
Canada is then. Is Canada one of those countries that's still loosely affiliated with the king? Just
Not
for fun?
loosely, not loosely. We are the last of the Empire loyalists. Trust me on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, there's in
And
fact,
yet-
one of my sister's friends is the head of the Monarch League in Toronto and greets the royal. She's met most of the royal family,
And yet,
and yet,
in the U.S., if you asked 10 people, is Canada its own country? They would say yes.
yeah. Well, and we are our own country. We are a sovereign nation, but we still have, the same way that the monarchy has no actual power in
Okay.
the UK.
So is that like if I want to open a chicken place and call it Popeyes, I have to be part of the franchise? Is it the same? Are you part of the franchise of the monarchy? And do you pay
We're an
them?
independent franchise. Yes.
How does that work? Yeah, independently
Franchisee.
owned, same great burgers.
Look, we want her face on our coins, okay?
That's-
If I have to show you, I will. You know, we've licked our stamps so many times. She's all bald back there. You know? But I don't think Charles is the epiphany. I don't think he's the apex of the greatest monarchy that will ever be, but because of what came down with his marriage, which being the
But
head of the
fortunately,
English
he's
church-
old. Yes.
Yeah, he'll be gone soon.
He's like one of those popes you hope is just in there
Yeah.
for a little while.
Waiting for the smoke to come out of the chimney. Yeah.
Okay. You really dodged the question.
Yeah,
What
why?
does being part of the monarchy actually actually mean that affects the lives of an everyday Canadian? Anyway,
It's
does Canada pay to be in the monarchy? Do they pay taxes to Britain?
I don't think we do. I can't say that with any great authority, but it is my understanding that unless we license her image for our coins, I like the loonie, and I
Well,
don't know
I
that
have
I
no
want to be
idea
on a
either.
coin called a loonie, but it's got a loon.
And I've never heard it discussed.
Every day in school, I sang "God Save Our Gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen, God save the Senator victorious, happy and glorious, long to live over." The same way you sang "America the Beautiful." What did you sing in school? What national anthem did you sing? Did you sing "America the Beautiful" or?
What do we sing? We don't. We pledge allegiance to the flag.
Just pledge allegiance to the
and Tucker
United
Carlson
States of
for
America.
which it stands, and one nation
That's not
under Fox for all. Yes.
Indivisible.
Actually, I don't. Do we even do the Pledge of Allegiance in school anymore? It's been so long. I don't know.
I don't know that either.
We're the wrong group to ask.
I don't have kids. I was going to say.
Can I phone a friend, Bob? Would that be okay?
Well, I'll just phone Google. Do students?
I suspect they may have
say
kept that, but
the Pledge
of
Allegiance. Do American students say the Pledge of Allegiance? Guess what the answer is? We don't know. We're old guys. We do not know. No, American students don't have to recite it. Freedom of speech includes the freedom not to speak. 47 states in the U.S. Oh, this is interesting. 47 states in the U.S. require the Pledge of Allegiance to be recited in public schools with varying exemptions for students or staff who wish to opt out. The 1943 U.S. Supreme Court ruling, West Virginia versus Barnett, determined that no school or government can compel someone to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. But we can sit you in the back facing the wall. We could find some other way. Like Florida could erect a penitentiary next to your house if they don't like what you believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, it's very traditional for us. I mean, I was smitten with her as a kindergartner. She was a beautiful, beautiful lady. And we found out a lot more along the way about how dysfunctional, like every family, that they were. Not every family, but like a lot of families are. They have dysfunction.
You mean the monarchy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
we love them.
The thing about the monarchy is it's an inherited job.
Yeah, and that's not the way it happens for most
There's
people.
no guarantee that you have qualifications, although you're trained your whole life, just like the young Dalai Lamas. They're trying to grow, and cardinals wanting to be pope. But they choose a pope from lots of different pope family people. In the monarchy, it's just like make some babies quick.
Yeah.
But is it not? Isn't the entire concept really symbolic as opposed to affecting change for the residents of the UK?
So yes and no. And I did a little bit of reading about this. Let's see if I have it still.
It used to be like a military position, though.
Well, you're actually the head of the church.
And the military.
And the military. Yes. Church and state.
Yeah. So you're talking about power.
So why does Britain have a monarchy? They're symbols, but they're also celebrities, like musicians, actors, and athletes are in the United States. The British media is always guaranteed access to an array of events that involve the royals. So I look at it as a kind of as Zip said, it's tradition.
A human version of Uncle Sam?
Yes, exactly. Uncle Sam is our king. Absolutely.
I thought
and the bald eagle. The bald eagle is his pet bird. Yeah.
Don King.
Yeah. So
Don King Donuts.
A little known fact about the monarchy is they actually make money as a tourist attraction, even though it's often talked about how much they cost. They make money. All right. Final segment. TV shows. I just want to alert you to an incredibly great show that's out there.
Do I have the platform that it's on?
That's a great question. I think it's on Netflix, which is still the #1 network.
Yes.
It's called The Diplomat. Have you seen the ads for it?
I've seen the promos, yes.
Do you know what it's about?
I don't recall. If you give me a hint, I might be able to run with it.
I just heard about it yesterday from a trusted source, And Lisa and I started watching 2 episodes last night. And why I'm immediately passing this on to everybody is brilliant, smart writing.
It all begins with the writing.
Twists and turns, and an actress. Oh,
Yeah.
and
That's all he can say.
part of why she's
Yeah.
is that I'm old. So at our age now, when you're a Medicare recipient of the year,
Yeah.
the hot actresses tend to be around 50.
Well, I'll tell
I
you
hear
what.
ya.
Yeah.
I hear ya.
And she's 47.
Mm.
The show was put together by the same people, some of the same people who put together the West Wing.
Oh yeah. Wow.
And
Good writing.
and it stars Keri Russell. Do you know who Keri Russell is?
Yes, I know. I'm coming up with the face.
She was the wife on the show The Americans, which was about a Russian spy family that was implanted in the U.S. Back, I guess, in the 70s when we were doing spying. And she, from the first 10 minutes of the first episode, you understood that she would do anything for the motherland. I'm not going to say any more because
No, you don't have to. I'm
and
picking up what you're laying down.
yeah, and this is, we're older now. This is maybe 10 years later, and she is still, I mean, the first thing, again,
Yeah.
truth gets its pants on. I can't believe there's, misogyny is part of our programming. I apologize.
It's the mating instinct, Bob. That's what it is.
It's the mating instinct to survive. Mating is survival, by the way, because at my age, you guys don't have sons.
Well,
you don't have an heir, and you don't have a spare.
No. What you should have been was Barry Mason, Bob.
It's weird. Maybe you guys, if you still have good semen, you should try and donate some.
Do you know that we had a contest on the radio?
Yeah.
It was called a jack off. And this is when you can get away with that sort of thing, because my host said, you're probably infertile. Or he said, you're nothing. And I said, how do you? I said, you drink like a fish. You smoke cigars. You this, you that, you other, And his lifestyle was a little rougher around the edges than my own.
Uh-huh.
He said, well, why don't we just test it out? So off to Birmingham we go, and they give you a Playboy magazine. They take a sample. And we read the results live.
You had a competition as to who had more active sperm?
Correct.
Great radio bit.
I mean, that's the way. And
it is, yes.
His sample came back gray. Mine was milky white. He had like lazy sperm, and I had
swimmers. We call them,
yeah, lots of swimmers, and set the record for staying alive at room temperature on the counter at the fertility clinic.
This was during the golden age of radio, and I do apologize.
Get away with that. But just to bring the show to a classy note, close.
Sure.
There you go.
I already thought I was at the edge, and then you pushed me off and jumped off after me. That's fine.
I can just shut it off.
So, I'm sorry, Keri. Keri Russell is an incredible actress. Brilliant. She is hot, okay? As a 47-year-old with a bunch of old creepy guys that if you're this far into the podcast, you get it, If you were just seeing us for the first time, I would understand if you never watched ever again. She's just a brilliant actress, been in many brilliant things, and this is a little bit like The West Wing. So I'll give you just the setup. She's a diplomat, but she's a brilliant diplomat, like the gal who was in Homeland. That was Keri too. What's her name? The actress from Homeland. Pop culture. Yeah.
I would love to go.
I know. We need it to, again.
I can grab my phone.
My producer will whisper in my ear. I don't have one anymore. Anyway, so Keri Russell is at that level. She's the type of diplomat who works in Afghanistan. In fact, she's on her way to Kabul at the beginning of this show. And then there's a bombing of a ship, a British ship that takes place in the Middle East, and no one knows who did it. They think it's Iran. And all of a sudden, she is told, that her ambassadorship to Afghanistan is canceled, and she's going to be the ambassador to UK, which she thinks is a bunch of bullshit because the UK is all about dressing right and the monarchy and looking prim and proper and photo ops and taking a horseback ride at the castle.
Stiff upper lip.
And she wants to do serious diplomatic work, and there's nothing to be done there. And she thinks it's like a bad job for her. But her husband is also an ambassador. I don't remember which country, but he's also an ambassador, and they're married, and they have to go to Britain together during this time of crisis. So that's the setup. And I've only seen the first episode and a tiny bit of the second episode.
And, then
And I'm not giving you any more than you would get from TV Guide, basically.
Okay.
But the writing and the politics are played at a level that's way above cable news, way above, even. Let's put it this way. It's showbiz. So is politics really that intellectually brilliant? I don't know, because it's egos.
It's showbiz too.
It is showbiz as well. So these characters are written to have a hyper awareness of things that you go, oh, wow, is that how it works? So the show in some ways teaches you where the truth might be actually getting its pants on, as opposed to what you're seeing in the news. And the thing about West Wing is there'd be what you'd see in the news, there'd be what each politician would say publicly, then there'd be the behind the scenes of what was really happening.
Right.
And so this show looks like a modern day West Wing in that sense. And I don't mean to say, because West Wing was unabashedly liberal, I don't mean to say that it picks a side, because so far I haven't seen it pick a side at all. And Homeland didn't really pick a side either. Homeland was walked that fine line of not being Democrat or Republican,
which is smart.
Yeah, if you can pull it off, it's. As a radical centrist, I can tell you it's really difficult.
What was the other political?
You will have no friends. They will all think you're a wuss. Yes.
What was the other political show based in Washington that had Kevin? What's his name? And that was up.
Oh, you're talking about the
And there was Kenneth Branagh's ex-wife played his wife.
Yes,
Claire.
it was it's a show that made the network take off.
House of Cards.
Yes.
House of Cards.
House
that's right.
of Cards. This sounds a little House of Cards like.
Yes, yes, very much so. Actually, more like that even than West Wing. So yeah, it's modern. It's good.
Yeah.
So Keri Russell, she's great. The other show I'll tell you about before we go is a show called Otto. It's a movie. It's on Apple TV.
Huh.
It
Well, I
stars.
just changed phones. I might have that.
Do you have Apple TV?
I think because with my new phone, once I get it hooked up to 14.
I'll say this about Apple TV. People love. Oh, look at that! You have a new phone.
I know the girl that started it, kind of Apple TV.
Is Otto the one with Tom Hanks?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
that's right.
called Otto, and it's perfect for the Medicare recipient of the year because no, you'll love this show, but it's really good for anybody because it's about this guy. Tom Hanks is playing old now, and he's old, so who knew he got old along with us?
Yeah.
He's having his retirement party, but you can tell he's being kicked out of the company.
Yeah.
And they make a cake with his face on it. And they have a bunch of people there and they can't wait for him to be gone. And he can't wait to be gone. And he's pissed off. And his wife died and he's basically waiting around to die. It gets even worse than that. Should I tell you this part? Yeah, it's kind of actually, it's in the opening credits. There's a warning that this show has attempted suicide in it. And so if that's going to trouble you, you shouldn't watch it. But his attempted suicide is very much like the kid in Home Alone.
Yeah.
Is facing those guys. His suicide goes wrong. He can't even kill himself correctly. But he's a crotchety, pissed off old man.
Playing against type, is he?
I don't know what he's really like in person. Is he?
Well, he answered that very question. I heard it this week. He said, I am not the nicest guy in the world that everybody calls me. I'm just normal. And I just do what I would do if I wasn't famous. And I too get pissed off at times, and I'm nasty. Most people don't know that,
Interesting.
but I am. That's what he said.
Well, so he in this movie plays this charming guy, but it has some interesting twists. And it is, if you got 2 hours and you want to sit with your loved one, whether she's married to the Medicare recipient of the year or whether she's a Gen Z or cohabitating with the voice chameleon. No, you'll love it. It's a fantastic date movie. That's all I'll say. It's an amazing date movie. And you might cry, you might, but you'll end up, the way they wrap it up at the end is really smart.
Wow.
Really smart and unexpected. Although I called it, like, do you ever do this when you're with your spouse or significant other and you go, oh, that's going to happen here. And then it happens. Yes. And I called it, but I only called it as it was about to happen. I didn't see it
you didn't see it coming
10 minutes ahead.
Yeah.
I went, oh, no. This is where this character is going to enter. And it's brilliant. Every bit of it is brilliant. And if it were 1990, let's call it 1987, this would be number one at the box office.
Yeah, it would be event television, as they call it. Yeah.
No, it wouldn't be. Wouldn't be television. It would be number one at the box office.
Oh, in the box office.
If it were in a theater, it's a 2-hour movie. Yeah.
Does anybody go to the movies anymore?
No.
No.
Unless you're trying to get laid and you need to see a Spider-Man sequel, there's no real
I was going to say, outside of the Marvel franchises,
Yeah.
there's nothing in them, right?
Well, Lisa and I went because there was a discount time for seniors.
We're going to have to take up a collection for you.
We actually, I wasn't going to promote this, but we actually saw a coming of age movie called God, Are You There? It's Me, Margaret. Have you heard of that movie?
Yeah. I did that on the movie review.
I went because Lisa wanted to see it, and I don't need to see girls talking to each other about when are their breasts going to come in and when are they finally going to get their period. It was that kind of movie.
Check back.
But it was really, it was also tremendously well done for what it is. And is it an attempt to get young people into the theater, or is it an attempt to get old seniors to go, I remember when I was first getting pubic hair?
I remember those Kotek machines.
There's a line, Zip.
There is a Kotex machine in the bathroom that does play a prominent role in this. Absolutely. Wow. It's basically like Traveling Pants. These girls are, all coming of age at the same time, and they form a clique. And it's brilliantly, the actress who plays the lead in this, she's got to be 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah, but there's some amazing actors.
She is able to portray emotion. I just kept thinking, wow, this is a child star who's going to have a huge career. So anyway, those are our recommendations. Anybody got a last minute?
I just wanted to. Did you guys follow the story about they call him the godfather of AI resigning from Google? Did you see that story?
I saw that. Yes.
Yeah, we should talk about that next time.
Okay.
I think it would be.
Well, how about right now? And now, since you just brought it up right now. Wait, this is not like a TV show where we're going to play 3 minutes of commercials and we'll be right back with what your day looks like tomorrow. How much sunshine and how much wind. We're so old school. So he resigned, and he resigned because he's afraid that AI is going to destroy everything.
He created a monster and it's out of control and we're in real trouble, essentially. That's what he said.
I say you can't fight progress.
He was pretty grim, the interview I saw on the Sunday morning show.
I think they're going to have to build walls around it, but I think that the monster's already out of the mansion.
Those are the two lanes. You have to choose one of those lanes, folks. Either we build a wall around it and we use nuclear power for our benefit, or nuclear power will destroy us all. It's the same age-old dilemma. I have no idea what the answer is. Being a radical centrist, that would always be my answer.
Oh, he always takes the easy way out. The three easiest words to say, I don't know.
Right. No, they're the hardest words for you two. They're easy for me.
Okay.
It's a loophole.
We're learning.
No, but we don't. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do know this. Putting the genie back in the bottle has always been difficult.
Yeah.
And anything that improves productivity is sold as being able to make lots of money very quickly for people who want to be entrepreneurs and disrupt business. So I think what Ed is saying is that you can't stop it.
I watched a video of the top 10. So
Yeah, but I also agree with I think it's very dangerous. I agree with this guy. I think it's I think we'll in the year 2525.
Oh no, Zager and Evans are here again.
If man is still alive, if woman can survive, they may find. And then it goes. Then I love the drum. Boom, 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 boom. In the year 3510. Yes. So it is that song. It absolutely is. And by the way, next week I'll ask AI to make me a song in the style of In the Year 2525, using current history and future projections about artificial intelligence. Will it work?
I've already asked it to write a parody song, and it did.
So that'll be when we come back, and we'll also tell you about your day tomorrow, whether you can expect sunshine or not.
From around the world and across the nation.
On the way.
Bob and Zed Show.